you got me crying, in public.
Dude.
I was like, it's not intentional.
Right here, very first time I cried in public was with you, man.
My divorce was finalized in November of 23. I had to move that same month. I remember spending my first Christmas Eve by myself. It was for the first time in my life this week that I was just like, yep, I'm not good.
I cried 3 times yesterday for no reason. One of them was just because I was proud of myself.
That's right.
I cried because I was proud of myself.
People are willing to follow me at my worst. They were willing to listen to a guy get divorced, but also just like, you are the strongest person we ever met.
Yeah.
Because it takes strength to still be front facing. I can help you like this because I'm close to you.
Right.
But you need to learn how to ask for it.
You taught me that, dude. I never asked for before you, and you taught me that. I was like, do you need a hug? He goes, no, I don't need a hug. I was like, I'm gonna give you a hug. And he's like, you know what, all right. And that fool hugged me for the longest time, and it was like a complete stranger. I didn't know this guy.
I remember in the beginning, she was like, Alex, just let go. And I was just like, let go of what? I like, were you there? And it was a year later, I was like, you know what? That's the best thing that you taught me, was to let go.
To let go.
And then I tell people
but it's the hardest thing to do. Welcome back, Alex.
Thank you, sir.
One of the OGs from Happy Hour with Hatch, man.
It's been about 4 years.
It's been about 4 years. We switched up the scenery a little bit, moved out of the bar into a little bit more comfy location.
Yep.
We still got drinks, old fashions. How do you like that bad boy? I kind of tried something different this time.
It's good. I can always expect that it's going to be a fancy drink.
I added a little bit of that infused gin with the whiskey. Kind of balances it out. It takes away a little bit of the bite.
So, like a little,
not too sweet. So I know you don't like it too sweet.
No, you see, you still remember.
Right? I like it strong. I like to taste our liquor. But man, it's I know both of us personally have gone through a lot, and I just can't think of a more appropriate time than June, which is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yes,
that's right. We need help too, and you are probably one of the biggest advocates I know of that, man. So,
like I was telling you before we got on camera, I've been talking about this all month.
All month long?
I've traveled, to go see military friends, and I was still very much a spokesperson for men's mental health among our group. The trips I've been taking have been more for mental health, not only for me, but for those closest to me that don't have people that they can actually be vulnerable with.
Yeah.
And I've realized, among my friend groups, I have empowered people to be vulnerable. And they always remind me, they're just like, yeah, you got me crying, in public.
Dude.
I was like, it's not intentional.
Right here, very first time I cried in public was with you, man.
And
you have a way about you. Why do you think that is, man? Like, what do you think causes that?
When you know what sadness is, and you know what happiness is. I said empaths are the happiest and saddest people you'll meet all at the same time. Sad because you see somebody not dealing with their stuff.
Yeah.
But happy at the same time, just like, I'm glad I'm not where I used to be.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of work to stay balanced.
Sure.
Over the years, I just, would ask people before I even do anything, did you want me to take space for you or provide a solution? That would tell me how involved I'm going to get.
Yeah.
But I'm also not going to take on people's stuff without them owning it. Now, you don't want to own it, that's on you. But I'm not going to make it my problem.
Damn straight, dude.
It took me about a decade to figure that out. I can say I've been in the mental health realm, among peers and just track record of, answering suicide calls. 20 years. Since the military, I was the guy that, people would go on deployments and they would leave me with the power of attorney.
Were you doing this when you were active duty in the military is what you were starting to talk about, or was that as part of the pain it was still
one of those things, like people always looked for me. Look to me.
People just naturally gravitate to you, man. Like there's something about you. Like we met on a freaking Zoom, like a Zoom happy hour.
It was Zoom happy hour during COVID.
You just happened to join, one of the very few people that even joined that thing, and look where it's taken us, man.
5 years of just I call it intentional friendship.
Right.
And that's one of the coin phrases that I have. You know, like friendship needs to be intentional. And if you're my friend, you're going to know it. Definitely. But also, if you're my enemy, you know, you're going to know that too, because there's no gray area.
But I think that's awesome though, because so many people are afraid to like say what they need to say. Like you are unapologetically yourself. Like you don't give a fuck what anybody thinks, because like you said, you may not like me, but if you do, I got your back.
I lived under a rock for so long of like I try to appease people, or you know what, you know, this is too much, and I'm just like, no, you know what, the right people will stay, and the wrong people, they'll. You know, you can tell with my content lately that I've definitely just leaned in into just like, you're going to get what you're going to get. And, you know, the DMs I get from that is, it feels so good to watch somebody live.
Yeah.
And people are like, yeah, you remind me I need to get out there and do some stuff. I've been in the house too long.
You give people that bravery, right? It's like, oh man, like Alex is a good dude. I know if like, and I think that's cool, because I think that's what we all want. People, when people look at my content, that's what I want. Like, if that guy can do it, I can do it. Like, I think that's why we do it, you know, because that's what makes us happy. It's like, look, we're just doing the work. You can do the same thing.
And I use content as a conversation starter. So when I run into people like, so when's the next travel? You know, like, how come I haven't seen the outfits this week? You know, so it's like certain things, if I do systematically, I didn't realize that it became part of my brand. That people just like, oh no, we need the outfit checks, because, you know, it reminds me I need to go buy some new stuff, because I have.
Dude, for real, I was just putting this slide deck together, and it talked about, you know, social media, and especially us in mortgage and real estate, like, whether you like it or not, you're a brand. Like, what you're posting always is a reflection of that brand. It tells who you are. And like you said, it doesn't always have to do with real estate or mortgage or whatever. Like, you're just showcasing your outfits. You're showcasing what's fun for you. And you'll find that there's other people that like those same type of things, and you connect on that, and eventually it turns into business, or it can or may not, but that's not even why we do it.
And actually, you know, like, people have told me just like, you attract people to your page because of who you are.
Right.
You just happen to sell real estate.
Right.
And I do think of you because I see you all the time.
Because you're saying the stuff that people are too afraid to say in front of a camera.
You know, and that was one of the things, you know, when I traveled to Alabama this past month, that they remind me like, hey, bro, we've been loving the real estate stuff. We've been loving the mental health. We always know we're going to find something positive on your page. And there's people I don't even know who like, hey, thanks for the positive messages. You know, because like sometimes at the gym today, you know, I was like, hey, I love your funny content. She's like, I love your motivation stuff. Like sometimes I need that. Or just that reminder of, hey, you know, you can go one more step. You know?
And I think about that too, like, because you attract the people that are like-minded like that, but you also repel. I've noticed as I've gotten a little bit more bold and a little bit more brave in my posts and posting things that are really on my mind, my follower count has actually gone down on Instagram quite a bit.
I'm the same.
And I kind of get excited. I'm like, ooh, okay, we're weeding out the negativity. I'm okay with this.
And these days, I think less is more. The right people are going to get to see my content.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
and they'll reach out when it's important.
Yes, and that's how I've been selling real estate. This whole year has been people who've been following me for a long time.
Ooh, and I want to get into that. So, because this is what I noticed when you can clearly articulate, you know, who you are, what you do, why you do it online, and have that brand, and then people call you, and you're that same person, they're already sold, right? Like, it's not a question of like, why should we pick you as our real estate agent? It's, bro, I've been following you for years. I love your shit. I'm finally ready. Let's go. Like, you don't have to qualify yourself any longer. It's a whole different conversation.
I remember this one couple was a referral from the closing before, and they're best friends. Okay. They're like, my best friend was such a fan of who you are that I just met these people like at the new build.
Yeah, like literally
within an hour, they were already done, and we're closing, you know, early next month. And the whole process has felt like they already know me because of how somebody has spoken about me. Right. And then I matched. Or when people are like, you're like the same on your Instagram or in person, I said, I would hope so.
Right. Absolutely. Right.
Well, and you know how social media can create this facade, and we know some of those people, and
we've tried it. Let's be real. When we first started on social, we were trying to be someone else. Like,
correct.
That's why it failed.
You know, and I always tell people it's because I'm like, I don't know anywhere else to be but to be me.
Right.
I said I've tried being somebody else. It doesn't work.
Nope.
And it's turned out to be that people crave for people to be authentic these days because everything has a filter on it. Think about it.
Especially right now in the world of AI, you know, when I first got into the content game 10 years ago, it was all about the flashiest, coolest videos, the best graphics, the coolest edits, you know, and now you can do that with a push of a button on your phone and it's not as cool. And so people just want this. They just want to know that you're not being scripted, that you're not reading a fucking chat GPT and just, you know, regurgitating the same information that seems to be spit out there. Like, pure inspiration and creativity is something that only we can do as human beings.
And that's where the traumas came in. You know, so for some of you who don't know, like I was going through a divorce in 2023 and creatively I shut down. There was no depth. And when I did try to come back because I was such in a season of darkness, people were like, something's off about you. I said, well, trauma will change you. So I don't know if I'll ever be that guy.
Physically, though, mentally, physically, spiritually, trauma but it has a true physical connection to your body that shuts you down.
And then 2024, you know, I started finding myself, okay, we're going to do this again. And it started feeling good. And then the beginning of 2025, I was like, all right, we're back in. And I think my business benefited from that.
Yeah.
So you
had to get your mind right in order to get the business right.
Yes.
It's amazing how that works, right?
You know, like, and you know the survival mode, you know, like when you're in it, you know, I always tell people, I said, don't look at my highlight reel today without understanding my past 2 years.
Well, and that's it, right? Like when you're in survival mode, and not only is it, you know, your body's going through this fight or flight response, you feel like you're suffocating. Like it feels like suffocating. I don't know how else to explain it.
And that's exactly what was happening, you know, my divorce was finalized in November of 23. I had to move that same month. And I remember spending my first Christmas Eve by myself. And you know me, I took myself out to a nice dinner.
Yeah, date yourself.
And then karaoke, I tell people, is a therapy for me because you have to be in the moment. Your mind can't be somewhere else. Your mind's on the song.
Yeah.
And me and a few friends now, that's our Thursday night thing.
Karaoke.
We're going to karaoke. And one of my friends, he was like, we met, yesterday, yesterday we met. And I don't think I'm doing karaoke on Thursday. I'm in a funk. He's like, no, we're going to karaoke. Well, we had coffee, earlier today. He's like, see you around 7:30, 8. I'm like, yep, we're doing karaoke. But then he was the one to remind me, he's like, anytime that you can't get out there and express yourself in a hard moment, that's when the Calvary comes in. Like your true friends who just like, hey, your posts are off.
Damn.
Your posts are off. Everybody realized, I was in California, so there was no mirror for me to take my, my selfies. Yeah. And somebody was like, hey, I haven't seen a mirror selfie in a while. You didn't even take one with the kids this week. I'm like, dang, everybody knows what's going on.
Because you've been so consistent, once you stop doing it, people take notice.
Yes.
And then they start to become your accountability partner. That's what's fun about social. When you stick with it for a long time and then you stop, everyone's like, where'd you go?
And there's people I've been able to save lives doing that. They're like, bro, how did you know? I'm like, we've kind of built like this way that we talk, like almost every day or every other day. I said, but if I was just like, hey, you went completely dark.
Yeah. I
know to completely like, hey, what's going on today?
Yeah.
Or people that, that want to FaceTime me, first thing in the morning on Instagram, like,
something's up. Yep.
Or people that I'm not close to, but it was like, hey man, you want to go work out with me today?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have time today, but I can make time for you tomorrow.
Love that. So you're setting your own boundaries though, too. Because I wasn't always very good at that. I feel like me and you, and especially, empathetic people, we like to help, and sometimes we give too much of ourselves.
That's what I tell somebody. It's like, you can't be an empath without boundaries.
You have to have
You have to be able to say, hey.
More than most. You need to have boundaries more than most, I believe.
I remember I was talking to a friend online. She was explaining a situation. I said, but why haven't you shut it down?
Right.
And she's like, well, I feel bad. I said, but this person already told you who they are.
Yeah.
Like, shut it down.
Let it go.
I said, they told you how they feel about you by their actions. Like, believe them.
Yeah.
And she's like, why are you cutting off people so much? I said, it's not that I'm cutting off. I said, I'm choosing to respect myself. And that's going to require for me to have stronger boundaries for most people.
Right.
Because I can't let everybody in like that.
And people that don't understand that, that's why they can't set boundaries, right?
Correct.
And then it's definitely not on you.
Yes. And
my favorite thing to say. That sounds like a you problem.
Yeah, but I really had to learn to set those things so I didn't get into like this dark sadness.
Shit.
So here's the thing about being an empath. Walking into a room and knowing how everybody is doing.
Fuck, what's that like?
It's horrible.
If it's a bad room, right?
If I go to a funeral,
oh shit,
I feel every emotion, and I don't know the person that well.
You feel it in your body.
Yes,
like in your soul.
Like I knew them.
Damn, dude.
And it's because it's just like there's so much pain in this room. So when you're a feeler, it's not easy to go to places that you don't feel, like you should be there.
Right.
And my kids are the same way. If I go somewhere and they're clingy, you probably will never see me there ever. It's
not a good
Or
spot.
when my daughter's like, you ready to go? I'm like, yep.
It's the energy, the spirit, whatever you want to call it, right? Like there's something that you can't see that's there. And I think it does take a special talent and practice to learn to tap into those things, because I feel like you're getting better at it. Like you've always kind of had the natural ability, but do you think that's something that you can hone or even get better at?
I was explaining to a friend over coffee today, and I had 2 coffee dates today.
Love it. A whiskey date.
Yes. And then what I was telling him, I was like, when you totally accept that you have a gift, just lean into it.
Yeah.
Before I used to hide into it, like my gut instinct, I would believe it, but then every time I didn't, I said, yep, you played yourself again. You play yourself more than anybody else.
Why do you think we do that?
Because I think I've made so many mistakes in life that trusting myself again is a new concept.
Wow.
Imagine coming out of divorce. You're just like, well, I thought I made the right decision then.
You started second guessing your gut.
I started second guessing my gut on every situation.
Holy shit.
So now, whenever I believe a story, I'm going to go with it.
Yeah.
I'm like, nah. And then somebody did something to me the other day, and it was funny. I was just like, they accused me of something. I was like, but that story doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up.
Right.
Fact checked. To the exact T of what I said went down was what happened. I was like, you see, look, this is why I need to stop. And, or when my friends are dating somebody.
Trust that fucking gut, right?
When my friends are
even if there's no logic behind it, that's my biggest issue, because I'm a logical person, but my gut will just say shit sometimes. I'm like, but that don't make sense, right? Like there's no logic behind it. Fuck the logic. You have to trust that inner gut if you know deep down you're doing what's right.
My friends would be like, "Hey, I need you to vet somebody for me." I'm like, I said, but don't tell them I'm gonna be there, because they're gonna act different.
Right.
And I had a friend. She was like, "Yeah, I want you to meet this guy, but you're just gonna pop up,
Yeah.
And
give me your real.
Like, I don't want any, because
no pretense, right? Like,
what did she tell me? She's like, you're good at just telling people like exactly who they are on the spot. I'm like, yeah.
You have a way of calling people out, but like in a way you're like, fuck, you're right, bro. Like, I do suck at that. I will be better. Like you make people want to be better. Like honestly, that's it, man.
And then what I've realized is, I learned so much about myself from just diving in. You know, I read the books, but I also apply it. And I tell people, I said, everybody has a podcast or that they listen to, a book that they read. I said, but show me your application.
Bingo.
And nobody's applying. I said, there's so many reels and I said, information is so readily available. So
especially now,
you can't tell me that you can't do something. I said, look at YouTube University. There is something that you can learn.
Right.
You can't figure out a problem. Somebody already did it.
Exactly.
You know, I remember I needed to change out my expansion tank in my car. You know, dealer wanted $1,500. I found the expansion tank on Amazon for $89. And then some YouTube videos.
There you go. Time, knowledge, application,
and a gallon
knowledge.
Of coolant was ready.
You saved
I saved $1,400,
dude. And honestly, that's what it takes, right? Those of us that don't have a backup plan, they don't have a follow up. Like when the money thing comes and you don't have it, we don't just say, well, shit, I guess this is it. No, you find a fucking way. Like you it's like, all right, well, and I truly believe that. Like. Because information is so readily available, it creates this overwhelming thing where people just don't do anything at all because there's too much.
There's too much of it.
But if you just center, one of the coolest thing I can think of for like recentering your body, especially for those that can really feel others' feelings and the chaos of all of it. And I mean, shit, you scroll enough on TikTok and then Instagram and then YouTube and then you're watching the news. Like there's just so much coming at you and you don't know what to think anymore. And so what works for me, I think I found the Control Alt Delete reset your system for your physical body, right? For me, that's honing in, meditation, sitting and just feeling all of it, letting it happen. Let yourself feel all those feelings, and then try to pinpoint specifically where you're feeling them in your body. And so I get these really bad muscle cramps, pinch nerves, whatever you call them, big clumps of nasty muscles that get cramped up in my back. And if I can pinpoint where they're at, I found one the other day and it was directly behind my heart. And I know that's because of the recent trauma I've experienced where my heart was broken. It's literally masticized itself in a part of my body, because when I sat there and I actually felt it and realized that's what it was, it didn't go away. Now that I know what it is, I can move forward. I accepted it, and then I continued my stretches, and literally nothing changed, right? Everything is still happening in my life. All the chaos is still going on. I still have a million fucking things I need to do, but at that moment I had peace because I knew deep down that I was doing everything I possibly could and that I'm enough. And
what I've realized for me is if I start freaking out, I'm like, okay, Alex, remember to breathe. And if I'm talking to somebody and they're trying to explain a story to me, and then they're like, listen, stop and breathe for me real quick. Like, let's get back to the center. And they're like, oh, I forgot that I wasn't breathing. Like, they were just like, oh, like, calm down. Let's take it all in.
It's that overload.
I said, I can't hear you right now because I'm trying to make sure you don't pass out.
I'm sure I've had a few of those conversations, man. I'm sure I've had those with my kids.
Yeah,
clients,
like, hey,
right? We all do it.
I need you to breathe real quick. And so many people are not allowed to express. So when they finally, especially among men, like my friend group, they're starting to become very emotionally intelligent that they use my stuff back on me. So they're like,
you taught us, bro. Like, what
they're like, you taught me this. Last night was one of those conversations. Like, you taught me this, right? We had.
I'm just doing to you what you do to me.
There was one time we were having happy hour. Another friend, showed up, was my protege. But there was a guy that was there before him. He was sitting there. He was like, a little off.
Yeah.
And then we didn't say much during the time. And then he leaves. My buddy's like, he's hurting.
Yeah.
And then later on, I did find out, like, there was a lot.
Really?
And my buddy standing next to me, he's just like, yeah, you taught me this. He's like, before I would have probably walked past it.
Sure, ignored it.
But while we were there, we just try to make it as chill as possible. Hey, you don't want to talk about it, but I'll ask you later on. What was that?
You never know. I mean, everybody's going through their own battles, right?
Yes.
Like, with this recent trauma back in February with my wife, being in the hospital, clearly, I remember I was going up the elevator, and this was after my breakdown. I had just got off the phone with my mom, and again, tough situation. But there was this guy in the elevator, and same thing. Like, he was this big old Mexican guy. Had the big old the socks all the way up to his ankles, cholo guy, tattooed on the face, hard guy, right? But I could see this motherfucker was hurting. Mm-hmm. Like, he was just hurting in that corner. And so I was like, "Oh, what's up, man?" And he was just like, "What's up, man?" Like, being all hard. I was like, "So you doing okay?" And he's like, "Oh, it's my wife, man." And I was like, do you need a hug? He goes, no, I don't need a hug. I was like, I'm gonna give you a hug. And he's like, you know what, all right. And that fool hugged me for the longest time. And it was like a complete stranger. I didn't know this guy, but I felt like I needed to give this guy a hug.
You remind me of something. Most men lack physical touch.
What's up with that, man?
Most men need a hug. As far as humans, men are the least touched outside of a romantic relationship.
That's not right.
It's not, but my homies get hugs.
Damn straight, I hug everybody.
I said, we got bro time, and we go out.
Don't make it weird. Like, this is what we do.
Actually, sometimes that long hug tells me a lot.
Yeah.
I'm like, like during the hug.
When there's that extra, like, I need this.
Yeah. But then, sometimes my friends like, hey, can I come over? I need a hug.
Ah, shit, man.
But I create that environment.
You do?
You can be as free as you want around
safety.
me. Yeah.
Right. People feel safe around you.
Yeah. There's several women I have helped in the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Some online, some in person. It's just like, I don't know why I met you, but meeting you empowered me to make this next decision. A lot of times it was divorce.
And that's trusting your gut again. By knowing you need to reach out, that it doesn't make sense. Like, I don't know if they need this, but you know what? I'm going to do it anyway. Fuck it.
And it actually did happen online where, how people like your post over and over. I said, okay, you're trying to get my attention. I was like, hey, what's going on with your marriage? Oh. And she was like, what? And I was like,
this guy just gets straight to it.
I said, but it wasn't about me. It was just more of just like, hey.
It's acting on, like you said, you don't justify yourself to me, man.
But then, I was just like, she was like, you would ask me that on the day we had the biggest fight ever. I said, hey, and then, this is where, I have a love. No, I don't like religion, but I love God.
Amen to that.
And she was being controlled by religion. You're being a bad wife for not doing this. I said, no, you're being abused and you need to get out.
Control. Yeah.
I said, it's a control thing. I said, until you figure out your escape plan, and I'll never forget the day she's just like, hey, I'm doing it. And then I was out in town and I ran into her. We had never met in person. And I just texted her.
God puts those people in your path,
I just texted her from across the room. I said, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
And just left it at that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of times I've helped people. I don't want them to find me.
I love that. Well, because that's not why you do it.
No, I don't.
I know that. And people that know you know that too.
I said, you'll never see me trying to do things for clout.
No.
I remember the one time somebody told me, like, you'll remind people that you help. I said, no, I remind you to act on your own because I helped you without you asking yet again.
Teach a man to fish, right?
Yeah, I said, I'm just reminding you that where that came from is still available, but I need you to ask for it.
Right.
I said, I can't keep on coming to your rescue. Like, it's just like your friends who are dark.
The true friends hold people accountable.
I said, the friends who go dark, and I know to go drive by your house because I know that's where you'd be at.
Right.
And at first, they try to put on this front, I'm okay, and then conversation.
How are you really?
And then it's just like, bro, I don't know.
Biggest thing you taught me.
I said, why did it take you so long to get to this point?
Yeah.
I can help you like this because I'm close to you.
Right.
But you need to learn how to ask for it.
You taught me that, dude.
Yeah.
Me. I never asked for shit before you, and you taught me that.
And I will come find you sometimes.
Not a fucking weakness. It's actually a strength.
I would always find you. We have this relationship. You just like, hey, what's going on this week?
Yeah.
And I will never stop texting him until he answers.
You bastard. I love
He's
it,
like,
though.
nah, this week's a little rough. I said, oh, I know, because I could feel it. You know, and people who are close to me, our spirits begin to just like intertwine. It was like, hey, my brother's hurting today. And this week was one of them. And I call it the Calvary, because the Calvary was just like, hey, what's going on?
It's starting to rub off, because I could tell there was something up with you too. Yeah. I finally got to give you something a little back, man. And that was so, honestly, that was an honor. Like when you text me trying to get out of this podcast.
I was.
On Monday, when you're like, bro, it's not happening. I'm like, you were not fucking canceling. Like I didn't even text you back. I just called you. And I'm like, bro, what's going on? What's going on?
And everybody who knows me, I don't cancel stuff. In fact, everything's on the calendar.
It's not 3 days in advance.
My friends really held me accountable to the standard that I hold them to.
Damn straight.
And they told me, they're just like, but you taught us this. So
we're all trying to level up together, bro.
You know, and it's always funny when I get me back on me. I'm like, ooh, that's what it feels like. I said, well, I get it. They're like, no, you call people to action. Like, you gonna be a man.
Yeah. Especially knowing that the source was you. I bet that's even extra for you. Like, fuck. Like,
you know, my ex-wife used to tell me, you know, like,
practice what I preach. Like,
you know, my ex-wife used to tell me, even in the worst situations, like, what would Alex tell to Alex right now? I was like, I don't want to deal with me right now. How about that?
Right? I'm not on the fucking higher level right now. I just want to be pissed. But sometimes we need that too, and that's why I said that, and you taught me that. I was like, look, like, no expectation. You just want to fucking rant and talk and yell, and you just need an ear to listen to. I'll be right there. And you're like, okay. I was like, I'm on my way. I'll be right there.
You know, like, one of my best friends, you know, this week, he works nights. But then anytime we had to go have coffee time, he was just like, yep, I'll be here at 11 if you want to stop by. I got us a spot. And
no expectations.
No expectations. Today we're just like, you know, coffee time is like soothing. He's like, yeah. He's like, next time we should mic up and you bring, like, you know, a mental health questionnaire and see what we come up with.
Because somebody might need it, man.
Yeah.
And that's what I think, you know, the haters are always going to say what they're going to say, but that's why we really do it. Like we don't have to do this. Like we have lots of ways to get our message out there. But this is what makes us happy, because we know that there are other guys out there younger than us, maybe even older than us. But they haven't experienced this, or they haven't learned how to get past something, and we have been able to find those tools that have helped us, and maybe it might help someone else.
And then what I've learned is, you see, I post a lot more inspirational, and just like this month, I was just very specific on men's mental health, and people are like, yeah, thank you for that. Or, you know, like, one of the worst times of my life was going through a divorce and starting a men's group. And then I was telling my friend today, I said, people are willing to follow me at my worst. They were willing to listen to a guy get divorced, but also just like, you are the strongest person we ever met.
Yeah.
Because it takes strength to still be front facing during one of the darkest times. And my therapist at the time, she was just like, but that's what saved you, was you thinking about something greater than yourself.
Yeah.
And I would go to therapy. I get fired by therapists, by the way, guys.
I love that.
They were like, yeah, you're good. And then,
you're teaching me shit, bro. Like,
yeah, like, she was almost about to open up about her. I'm here for me, girl, you know.
This is my time.
I've always thought I could be a therapist. And it was funny. It was my therapist. She was like, you would be good on this.
You would be.
And lately I've been thinking about it. It's on I have a lot of friends who are actually therapists. They're just like, no, we would need you on our core, you know, because you bring a different dynamic. You've actually lived the stuff. You'd be given real life.
You can't cheat the experience, bro.
And then I was telling somebody lately.
The only way you learn.
I was telling somebody lately, like, seems like every person going through a divorce, they know to reach out to me.
because we know, man, when you told me that you guys were splitting, that broke me, because I was going through a tough time and I wasn't wanting to admit it. Nobody knew.
Yeah.
Not even you. I even hid that from you. I don't know. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. I felt like I did.
Yeah.
But I was already hurt, and I just couldn't deal with it. And I still feel so shitty for this. But like when you told me that, I was like, I gotta just stay away from Alex right now. Like, and I feel so shitty for that, because I know I wasn't there for you.
But it wasn't even that. Like starting the men's group, I actually saved more marriages.
Good for you, man.
By teaching men how to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
And then giving them homework. I'm like, go have this conversation with your wife.
Well,
and the wife being like,
just Alex, talk about it. You gotta do shit.
The wives being like, at my birthday party, it felt like it was a men's group reunion too. And the wife like, so when are you bringing the group back? I'm like, well, I'm in a season. I don't know when I can bring it back. I was like, and last night I was coming up with some stuff. I said it'd be quarterly, and then like the actual group, but probably workouts, twice a month. Because I have a private gym that I can do that at.
Right.
You got to do this in a doses that would have you continue to do it, not start and stop. So I said, no, I can commit to a quarterly meetup, because most men can't do bi-weekly or weekly, because it's gonna force them. I used to tell the guys, I'm like,
it's almost too much for us.
I said the guys who lasted the 9 months that I had it, closest people to me right now.
Love that.
And their marriages are strong.
Yes.
They're living.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, dang, if we
helped 9 lives, dude. Well, 18, because of the wives and the children of that. Like the exponential.
Correct.
And think about their generations of kids that won't have to deal with a divorce.
I got to remind one of my buddies last night.
That's powerful.
I have such a great work environment. Like, we're family.
Yeah.
And it took, like we all met at the gym.
Yeah.
Over 8 years ago. And how close we are today was, we at the gym, it started like this, and then it was like hug, and then just like, hey, I always have a space for you at the office. This is me not knowing where we'd be at today. And last night, just texting, like one of them, I said, yeah, you remember we prayed back in 2023 about this? It's great to see you guys living it out.
Yes.
And it was about a business idea.
Yeah.
It was so interesting to be able to show him the timeline.
So isn't that cool? I want to talk about this for just a second, because I'm finally starting to see this happen in my life. Mm-hmm. And it's so fun, because it is that validation. Because at the end of the day, us as human beings, especially as men, whether we will admit it or not, we all want to be validated. We all want to be loved. We want to be proven that we are doing what is right.
With the business idea from 2023, what was funny was, it's a husband and wife, and they had this great business idea, but it never came to fruition. Then on my like one day I text his wife, I'm like, hey, do you want to be on my podcast? I don't know why.
You just texted her.
I was just like, hey,
just felt it.
I'm like,
and you did it.
I'm starting this podcast. I would love to have you on. And she said yes. She was getting super nervous. I'm like, no, we're just going to talk. And then from that podcast, I said, I'm going to need you to say, like, during the questioning, like, I was just like, hey, I need you to say some of the things you want to happen out loud.
Ooh.
And that was the validation.
Yeah.
She was looking for so many outside sources to validate what she was going to do next. And then now she's killing it. So it was just like to share in that with your friends of just like, I don't know why I asked you to be here, but that moment and what you're living now shows me that,
dude, that's it. Like, but we need people. Like, we all have it within ourselves, but if you want to unlock it faster, that's the fucking hack, is you find your people. And honestly, me, 6 years ago, I was an atheist, bro. I didn't even believe in a God. And now I am telling you without a doubt that God is real, bro. Like,
our infamous car prayer,
dude. He has put people in my life, and it, whether it's an energy, a being, whatever. Like, I'm open to all possibilities, right? Like you said, religion is I'm working my way through that, but God, that presence, that exterior force, that exterior power, that is fucking real, and nobody can convince me otherwise, because I have felt it and seen it the same way I have felt love, the same way I have felt pain. it is a non-physical, actual physical thing. I don't know how else to say it.
I'll give you a story about that. So I have this thing. I could be out anywhere, especially at clubs sometimes. I like to have fun. But there'll always be like one person who's in a dark place, and I would notice, and I would just stop like, hey, how are you right now? Yeah. Like, you know, having a good time, but just stop. Yeah. And just like ask them how they're doing. Or I'll say something, and I'm like, how do you know I was dealing with that? I said, I don't know. You just confirmed it, but cool. And then, I'll never forget it. I was in downtown Chandler. There was a bartender, and the day before, I'm like, this dude is off today. Like, just
feel it. Yeah.
I just feel it. And then the next night was, you know, half bottle wine Wednesday, you know, a good bottle of Austin Hope. That was my thing.
Boom.
And, I would go, and, you know, it was my Wednesday night. And then he was off duty, and he sat next to me.
Oh shit.
And we just kept on talking. And I knew he was struggling with some things just from conversation. And at the end of the conversation, he's like, well, I'm glad I met you tonight, because my plans tonight was not to be here tomorrow. And I like, wow. And
I know you have more of those, but Jesus, man, like.
And there's a lot of those. It's like, people never see me talk about this on social media, but. And then I told, you know, most people like that, you know, struggle with believing in a higher power to start. Yeah. And I said, hey, but did you ask for some hope today? That's usually my question. He's like, yeah. I said, hope came, so there is a God.
Damn straight.
And the way that they break down after that, you know, I always tell people, I say, I'm not going to ask you what you believe in or what you don't believe in, but I'm for sure going to tell you that because I believe this helped you. That's all people need sometimes, is just like, they don't need a lecture, they don't need anything, they just need somebody to just take space and say, hey, I see you. And so many men are unseen, and even in their own home. They're just like, I'm just gonna put my head down and go to work.
Sometimes, especially in their home.
Yeah, and I always tell men, I say, your home is not the safe place. You need to find groups of people that make you feel happy and create that safe space. And that's my office.
That's why I'm such a big advocate of the man cave, man.
Like my office, it feels like a big party.
Whether it's physical, whether it's in your home, every man needs a space, right? Where you can feel, like you said, feel safe.
Yeah.
No judgment, no expectations. You can just be you. You can be your fucking weird self, and whatever that looks like.
And then some of my friends, you know, they'll say, hey, let's shoot some content.
Yeah.
It's not about the content.
No, it's not about the content. It's
you know, what's funny is,
I forget to shoot the content. I'm like, fuck, I probably should have. Like, I'm too busy living my life. People only get to see a quarter of what I actually post.
The thing is, they want to shoot content with me or help them, but I know that's them saying, I want to see you. I said, why didn't you just tell me that you? I said, why didn't you just tell me that you miss me?
Right. Or an excuse.
Or there, I look at their face. I'm like, all right, before we shoot any content, let's go ahead and deal with that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, we can talk.
You know why you reached out.
And then the content will come out great. I said, yeah, it would never look great. I'm good at directing.
You are.
You know, so it was more of just like, hey, we had to get past your circumstances. Mm-hmm. In order for that guy to show up.
Well, you have to be able to tap into that, and for some reason we all do it. Like when that camera first starts on, you put on that little persona and you put on your little voice, and then if you'll just forget that they're on and you'll just fucking talk and just realize that we're just two fucking buddies having a conversation, that's what people actually need to see.
And that's what I show people. Like, oh, you look so great on camera. I was like, yeah, about 8 years of doing it. But I didn't realize, like a lot of my life has been on camera. Even, like doing like church news or, just, it
was always a part of it.
It's always a part of it. And then now
God's got a plan for you.
They're like, you should start a podcast. I'm like, yeah, kind of on a lot of them.
So you're good at it.
But I think it's really just showing people that it's okay to live, but it's also okay not to be okay. And
yes.
It was for the first time in my life this week that I was just like, yep, I'm not good.
You weren't, bro. You were not
and
good.
People are just like,
and that's okay.
And people are like, you saying that means somebody messed up.
But it's all good if you're not okay though.
Yes,
like that's
I've learned
like
that.
That's what we got to learn. That like you just got to sit in it. Like not all days are gonna be. In fact, most days are gonna suck. And that's what I've learned most in life. That it's mostly the sucky shit, and that the good moments are short and quick and they're gone.
You know, and even in my own crisis, I can still show up.
Fuck yeah.
You know, like today I was getting certain texts. I'm like, this person's off. And then when people are quick to just like, yeah, you know, wherever you at, you know, I'll come. That means like,
you know,
there's something that we need to deal with. Mm-hmm. But I'm glad that I have people that can help me shoulder that.
And let's face it, a career and the choices that you've made to get to where you're at today in life, despite all the shit, despite the mistakes, because we know we've fucked up way more than we've made. You know, the craziest story
that I have is...
But you have a life that you can do that now. You have the ability, the time.
Yeah, the craziest story that I had was the day I was filling out the paperwork to file for divorce. I took my MLO test. Imagine, you know, it's a Saturday afternoon, 1 p.m. You're going to go take a test, you know, in the blazing Arizona heat. It was May of 23, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I get there, and this lady sitting there, and she looks at me, and she's like, I'll put you at number one because you are number one. And it like broke me because I was just like, I'm definitely not feeling number one right now. Like I'm feeling like crap.
Something that simple though.
Yeah, something that simple.
Something that simple.
Reminded me like, your brain, your mind is the only thing you can control, like in the most traumatic things. You know, it's just like, if I can keep my brain going. When I was going through my divorce in November of 22, I didn't know divorce was going to happen. I just remember...
It shocked all of us. Alex, Simon, what?
I just remember
Alex,
November of 22.
No.
Like right before I finished my class, I'm like, why do I feel so heavy?
This shit broke me, dude. I was like, fuck.
And then I didn't... So May of 23 was a lot.
I remember. That's when I was in my fog.
I finished a degree the day before Thanksgiving of November 22. But walking was until May of 23. That's when things were already rough, you know, like up in limbo. We're in separate places.
There's no path. You can't picture your future.
And I'll never forget, you know, Nate is one of my proteges, you know, like he had first got into real estate and my right hand man, but he lived all the way in downtown Phoenix. And during one of the roughest times, when I met him, he had just went through a divorce. And the first thing I told him was, what are we going to do about you?
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't know, like, I was training somebody to help me through my,
training your future self. Well, like they say, you're best served to help those because you used to be that person. And
then what was funny was, you know, during my divorce, he drove every week to come see me, drive the 45 minutes just to have lunch, or maybe we'll go look at some houses. Yeah. And then sometimes he'll show up, it could be 10 a.m. He's like, it's a espresso martini type of day.
Yeah. let's get after it.
Because there was like, you know, like when you're on the phone having heated arguments and this and this and that. And he's like, I got you.
Yeah.
And then now, you know, like even as a realtor, he hired me as a realtor.
Love that.
And he's like, no, he's like, you're the best man for the job. He's like, you gave me the timeline of when I would buy a house again. And he's like, to the T, you know, he's like, you got it on time. And now he's in a great relationship that he told me he'll never be in one again. But, you know, like, and I was just like, no. Yeah. I said, you'll find the right one. Yeah. And what was interesting was that was just in a short 3-year span.
Right.
You know, and how much life has changed for both of us. Mine's in reverse is where he started, you know, and now he's like in this, you know.
Yeah, but it all intersects, man. Like if you just, you know, the right people and guys especially, like they'll be friends I don't speak to for fucking years, right? And then I see them and we pick up right where we left off. Yeah. And I think the cool thing is social media is kind of that little filler. Like you don't have to catch up as much anymore if you're posting consistently and showing your life. And and just living it, but documenting it at the same time, it allows you to just pick right back up. And then some of the best friends I have to this day are people I met through social media. They got a chance to see my personality and who I was, and then when we finally did meet in person, they knew who I was because of social. Right. And I always want to hope I show up the exact same way in person that I show up on social. That's our whole goal. And now, again, some of the greatest relationships of my life have started through social media.
That's how we met.
But physical, you still have to have that. Yes. Like COVID taught us that there's no comparison. As much as I love virtual, as much as I love tech, nothing replaces this. Because of the energy in the room.
And I tell people that all the time. I'm an in-person type of meter.
That's why I force. I was like, if we can do it in person, we're going to do it in person.
What I started to realize with me is just like I need human connection.
We all do.
And
we all do.
Even my most introverted friends, they're like, I can talk around you. I said, you just are choosy of who you talk to. I said,
I read this quote real quick. I used to think I was introverted until I realized it just was about having the right people around me. When I'm around the right people, I'm very extroverted. But when I'm around the wrong person, I'm guarded because I don't want to share myself with that. And that's just me knowing me. I'm not introverted. I know I'm an extrovert.
I'm more of an ambivert.
Let's
why? Because it's just like, as much as I'm on camera, off camera, I'm in a blanket and on the couch.
Right?
I've done enough. Like after today, my day, I was like, I did a lot of peopling today.
I need a break.
I need a break.
And I think that's the empath part of you. My sister, my mom, both of them are like that. We're like, again, when you give a lot, there's a physical exertion that happens through that energy, and you just need a fucking break.
And then, this week, my friends were just like, no, we're taking space for you today. And I was just like, oh, that's cool. Because I'm used to being the giver. So now I'm learning to say yes to receiving.
Isn't it cool when you start to say yes? I used to hate it.
And now I say yes because I'm just.
Why do we think that's a weakness sometimes?
I think because when you're used to being the strongest person, you don't think anybody can handle your stuff.
That's fair.
But then I've learned I'm just like, if you train enough people, you won't go without help because you've taught them the right way to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer of you have to train your people to take care of you. And that's in any situation.
No.
People should know how you feel about certain things. Right. Or I watch people cringe, meeting new people, and they say some off the wall stuff, and everybody goes like, they're like, that's not gonna go well.
Read the room, bro. No, but I think that's an important thing. It's the spatial awareness, the situational awareness, and you have that. Not everybody has that.
And then my friend, he's like, it's one good. He's like, a great thing about having you around. He's like, nothing's not gonna go untouched. Nobody's gonna say I like to be the first to say.
Let me just address the elephant in the room right fucking now.
Who's gonna? Ain't nobody gonna say nothing.
but the energy shifts when you do that. It goes from that nervous who should say what to okay, it's cool now.
It was even getting around my military friends again. I'm like, so Simon, what are we gonna do? I'm like, I'm not the planner here.
I showed up, man. You guys, let's just fucking.
And then what's funny was when I was in California, there's 3 Marines. And nobody's gonna make a plan. They're like, well, it's kind of like I was like, but I'm visiting your city.
Who's our sergeant? Who's taking? Who's telling us what to?
They're like, you know how it is. You've led so much in life that you don't want to lead. I said, I was not trying to lead on vacation.
Right.
So then I was just look up stuff, and then all right, we'll go here, and then
live in the moment.
And then over time, he would be like, okay, so I think we should do this. We'll do that, and then. My buddy he'd never been to a restaurant with a reservation. So he's like, no. So you had to put in a time and everything. I'm like, not just pop up on him. He's like, oh.
What do you mean never been to a restaurant with a reservation?
But then he's like, so he's like, do I have put on a button up? I said, if you want to.
Sure, yeah.
And then we get there.
You do you, buddy.
When we get there, he's like, this is really nice. I should probably do more stuff like this.
Yeah, dude, take care of yourself.
I said, I'm a firm believer of taking care of myself,
Yeah.
Teaching, I always tell guys, I'm putting better men out there.
You're building better men.
Yeah, I'm showing them how to, one, understand their emotions. And I said,
we need more of that.
What's funny is I said, for women like to call people toxic narcissists. I said, yeah, because you can't push them over. You can't step on their toes. They will talk back to you. And I have a lot of ex-girlfriends that hate me.
Oh, me too.
because they're like, yo, I gave them the courage to step up to you and call your stuff out.
But you know what you want and you're unapologetic about it.
Yeah. And
some people see that as arrogant or cocky or whatever, but you're confident in who you are.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what we should all strive for.
And then I think what it comes down to is being so self-aware.
Yes. And knowing your weaknesses as much as you know your strengths.
I would tell somebody, I said, I know me. Certain settings I will not put myself in because I will fail.
Correct. Yeah. You know when
I was in California, I was like, nope, I don't want to be out past 9:30. Right. I said, we could be at home.
Because I'm going to do stupid shit if I keep it going. I know myself enough to know I don't have self-control and I'm going to fuck up.
Yeah. I said, we can go out.
That's powerful, man.
It is. And I have friends and I help them through like relationship struggles or just like, certain, addictions. And I'm like, hey, but you're putting yourself right back in this scenario again.
You're doing
and then, or they'll do something and they're like, oh, I just wanted to see how you react. I was like, no, no.
That's not what you were doing.
I said, you going.
My kid pulls that shit on me all the time. No. I'm like, the test and the bounce you can get away with. It's such a kid thing, right? Like,
and then he was like, no, I was just thinking this. I'm like, I said, what happens?
But we've done it too, and that's how we know we can call people out.
Like now, I kind of just like, I said, hey, if you keep on opening the door to it, sometimes I'm going to tell you, walk right in. I ain't going to stop you. They're like, then I feel like I disappointed you. I said, no, you disappointed yourself. Like, it has nothing to do with me.
I read this quote the other day, and I think I sent this to you because it was really powerful. It's like sometimes just because you walk in the wrong door doesn't mean you have to stay and live in the room.
Correct.
You can walk out. I walk through the wrong doors all the fucking time. But guess what? That doesn't mean you have to stay there. You can leave anytime you want. If you have enough courage, and that's it. Everything is on the other side of fear. When we're fearful, we're stagnant, and when we're stagnant and fearful, we can't grow, and that's the definition of hell and death, in my opinion. But if you just keep going, knowing that you're gonna fuck up, that you're gonna fail, but that God's gonna put people in your path, and if you just keep going, even though it may not make sense, your gut's telling you to do it, you just do it anyway. You make the mistake, and it finds a way of just correcting itself because God will put those people in your path. And I'm such a firm believer of that. And it's wild that I'm saying this.
I know. I'm like, who's this guy?
Sometimes I'll say shit. I'm like, who the fuck am I? Like,
but you had your spiritual awakening.
I've had my awakening, and I've been able to, and I've lived through some of the worst trauma that I never thought I would ever have. That forced me to look back even deeper into my childhood trauma.
It just reminds me of the time that we walked out of church. And the weight.
Bro, I was heavy that day.
And I was like.
And I was trying to keep it in too. I was so proud. I was like, I'm not telling this full shit today. I'm going to show up. I'm going to go to church. I'm going to go home. I had zero plans to tell you anything.
I know. And I was walking next to you. Son of a bitch. And I was like, the weight is so heavy right now.
You started crying.
Yeah, I was crying.
You broke down on me. I'm like, what are you crying for? You're like, you are heavy, bro. And I'm like, damn it, man.
But this is the real life. This is the behind the scenes of this is what friendship is.
I was so mad that you called me out on it. I really thought I was hiding it well too. I was like,
it was a real thing though. It was a real
It was
you saw what empath looks like in real life. I text one of the guys today. I was just like, hey, I just want to remind you, in this phase of life, I need you to be more gentle on yourself. Because you already did the work, you did the time, and I'm teaching myself the same thing.
And what made you reach out like that? Just
because I see them every day.
You feel it.
And I'm just like, and he's like, bro, I love you. He's like, constantly I go the opposite direction of what I should. And thanks for the reminder. And that's all you can do. Sometimes is remind people and remind them that you're learning to do the same thing.
Right.
And then when I tell people, it's like me trying to teach myself to be gentle, realize there's no roadmap. I'm creating it as I go. And I'm willing to teach others.
Yeah. Well, and so this is what I've learned as I've started to really dive into my coaching and my teaching and writing. Like, I'm getting way more out of it because I'll say things and I'll teach things and I'll know, like, it's also admitting, like, I'm not saying I'm awesome at this. This is working for me now. It's not perfect. I'm trying to get better at it. But just by saying that, it forces you to do better. By teaching and showing others what's possible, it makes you want to level up your own game. Like, I'm going back through my own book right now, and I already feel like it's outdated. I'm like, this needs to be better. I could do this. And so it's forcing me to write book number 2. And because I'm learning more from it, and I genuinely hope that there's someone out there that could get something from it as well, but I'm honestly doing it for me. I'm being a little selfish with it.
But what I tell people, I said, that's the easiest way to learn. You know, some of the stuff that I teach people, I'm just like, okay, where does that look like in your life?
Right.
But that's why when I sent the text,
because it's going to be different for you than it is for me.
That's why when I sent the text, I was just like,
universal at the same time.
I'm learning to do the same with myself. I was like, we have no manual to do what we're doing. But you know what? As we figure it out, we create the roadmap.
You ever lived this chapter of your life before?
No.
Like, do we have any preparation? Like, the world that we live in now didn't exist when our parents were there, so we can't even do the same things they did. They were, and that's what's kind of cool too. That was something I realized being the oldest in my family, especially once I had kids, especially, you know, the issues I've had with my father and just that sort of thing, and not facing that in my life. But that was a huge awakening for me when I had kids. It was like, you know what? They didn't know what the fuck they were doing. They were just doing what they thought was best at the time when they were living it. And if you can truly believe that for each person, that they're doing the best they fucking can. They don't know what they're doing, but they're trying. And if you can accept that and believe that, and then try it for yourself and assume the same of everyone around you and come from a helpful point of view, that is how we all get better together.
I did a video probably like 2 months ago where I was just like, it's time to forgive your parents for what they didn't know.
Right.
I'm like, they didn't know. I was like, think about if you're a parent right now, you're doing everything for the first time, and they were too.
Right.
You know, and as I turn 40, I'm like, I'm turning into my parents.
Isn't that weird?
You know, because I'm just like,
I'll say shit like, I sounded like my dad. I sounded like my father right there. But then I'm like, you know what? My father's a good dude.
But then I realized, you know, like, you continually have to forgive things as you remember.
You do.
You know, and it's so hard.
And the deeper the deeper that you can go back, the stuff that you've been hanging on to that you didn't even realize. Hand me that blanket real fast. We're going to tell this story. So when I was 5 years old, I'm the firstborn in my family. My parents were very young when they got married, 20, and I think my mom she might have been 19. So like 21 and 19, right? I'm a 5-year-old. We're taking a family trip to Utah, because we spent every summer up in Utah. We lived in, actually, I don't even remember what the trip was, but we were on a road trip, and my grandmother had made me a blanket of this exact material, and it was, you know, you have your item, your blanket, right? Yeah. You know, it's my blanket, and it was, I loved it. I carried it everywhere. It was my safety net. I was a kid. I was a 5-year-old, right? That was my little safety net. We had some engine trouble, and the car engine caught fire, and so we had to pull over to the side of the road. And my younger brother, who was 2 at the time, also had a blanket, and they needed a blanket to put the car fire out. And I was 5, and I said, you are not taking my blanket. He's only 2. He won't remember if his burns, and he can have another one. I'll remember this. You don't get to and this is I don't know that I said these things, but these were the thoughts I had. But they took my blanket and they used it to put out the fire, and I never got it replaced. And I didn't realize I was hanging on to that my entire fucking life.
Man.
Because My mom, for some reason, and then my grandma passed away, and I never got a chance to get that blanket remade, and she just was really good at it. So my mom had commissioned someone in her church to make a blanket for me for my birthday, for my 40th birthday. And so she commissioned this lady, and there was a whole great story. I'll have to have my mother tell it another time because she says it way better than me. But this blanket was made by my grandmother through that woman. I don't know how to say it, because when I saw it, when my mother gave this to me for my birthday, I broke down in tears. And you know me, I'm not a crying guy up until recently, up until I've allowed myself to feel the trauma, thank you, and to allow myself to say that it's okay, that men are allowed to cry, and that crying is actually pretty fucking great. Yeah. Sometimes I cried 3 fucking times yesterday for no reason. One of them was just because I was proud of myself.
That's right.
I cried because I was fucking proud of myself.
Hey,
yesterday.
you know, you guys can get some real raw stuff. Like, can't make this stuff.
God. But I'm telling you, this healed me, and it's so dumb, right? Like, I had a great childhood. So for the fact that my trauma was, and I realized what it was, it came in such a clear message that not only did my grandmother make this to help heal that for me, but it helped me remember. I have a terrible memory of my childhood.
What you're going through right now.
Well, here's what it was. At that time, as a 5-year-old kid, when my dad decided to take my blanket instead of my brother's, I knew I was smarter than him at that point. And I knew from that point on, I was in charge. And I stopped being a kid. And from that moment, I knew I had to be an adult, and I wanted to grow up as fast as possible. And I never allowed myself to be a child until now. Or actually until I realized, you know, I look around, I look at all the nerdy shit and all the stuff in my house and all the things that I've bought and the toys and the dumb shit. And I'm like, I've been allowing myself to live. I've given myself my own childhood that I wasn't able to have because I didn't trust my parents enough to give it to me. And I was able to let that go.
I watch my childhood through my kids.
And thank them, right?
You know, I want them to be, you know, like, I watch my childhood through my kids, and just like, they are getting to experience the childhood that I wanted.
And isn't that a great, like, and that's a whole nother level of, like, joy, right? Like, when you get to give the kids the life that you always wanted, the life we fucking dreamed about. But monetary only goes so far.
But it's not even monetary, it's like the experience.
The experiences.
That's what, you know, like my kids, you know.
But that's why the divorce, I'm sure, hurt extra hard, because now you don't have a father and a mother, and that's what's destroying.
But you know what? You know, like, for me,
that they don't have a mother.
You know what worked for me is we still love each other. Like, it's clear in how we treat each other.
Always love my wife, no matter what.
And the thing that showed me that was how great they're doing in school. Or we can have conversations that most people are like, oh, you guys are less than 2 years divorced. You guys are very amicable. I was like, but there's no hate.
Right. You gotta let go of hate.
I said, you know, like, and my therapist taught me something. I remember in the beginning, she was like, Alex, just let go. And I was just like, let go of what? I like, were you there when I was going through this stuff?
Fuck you, let go, right?
And it was a year later, I was like, you know what? That's the best thing that you've taught me, was to let go.
To let go.
And then I tell people
but it's the hardest thing to do.
I tell people that all the time now, you know, when they...
Especially with someone that you truly love.
Yes, when they bring me
But you know that you're not in love with them anymore. Correct. There's a difference between loving someone and being in love with someone.
People don't realize there's a difference.
There absolutely is.
In love with somebody is like, you know, I'm gonna cover you. I love you is I'm gonna ask more questions before I help you.
But because it has to be reciprocal.
Yes.
It has to be two-sided for it to be real.
If I truly say I love my kids, I will do my best to give them the best life.
And you know that, and you're doing it.
But there's so many people I have to have, you know, like going through similar situations, like, hey, the best thing you can do is become the best version of yourself.
Amen to that.
You know, and my kids have taught me that. And I think there was one fight where at my old house, I was just like, I said, I don't feel appreciated. Like, I've done so much. I said, I've given so much. I said, this is how I get repaid. And then
hurts.
My daughter, I believe, was probably 5 at the time.
Yeah.
And through that process, any little thing that I do, like, you know, thank you for doing that, or thank you for doing this, or thank you for taking us to do that. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I felt like I put pressure on them to like,
right.
But they actually want to do it.
They legit care.
Yeah.
Like it's not because they feel obligated. It's because they truly are thanking you because of the example that you've shown them.
Yeah. And now, like, it's interesting watching, you and your kids. My daughter's, she is a truth teller and she is a lawyer, and, she'll ask you questions, just to make sure that, and she'll fact check you.
Oh yeah.
Too. Like, that's not what you said, like.
It's because she's been lied to.
Yes. And the reason was that I've always been the honest person. Mm-hmm. And I always said, I always tell her, I said, omission is just as much as lying to me.
It's the same thing.
I said, it's the same thing. I said, you knew the truth. And
you chose not
I hold everybody to that standard.
You do. You hold yourself to that standard.
I was like, no, I will tell you the truth even when it hurts.
Yes, especially when it hurts.
Yeah.
That's when we need to hear it the most.
And my friends know that. I say, like, hey, no matter what you're going through, just stay honest.
Well, because the wrong friend will get offended.
Yes.
And the right friend will be like, you're right, bro.
Yeah.
I need to work on that.
Those friendships, the ones that we've had those mishaps, I said, hey, one thing I'm good with, you can live your life however you want, but don't lie to me about things that you asked me help for. Don't do it. I said, you asked me for help on something, you lied to me. I'm like, I said, quickest way to end this friendship is to do that.
Well, because you've drawn your line in the sand. Like, this is where your standards are. This is what you hold yourself accountable to. So you're going to hold your friends accountable to that. And again, no judgment. If you're going to do that, cool. But leave me out of it.
Correct. And people don't understand that.
Right. Well, you're just going to write me off. I heard that one. You're just going to write your wife off. I'm not writing her off.
No. I always tell people, I said, if you see me cut you off, I have given you probably a lot more grace than I should have.
You're allowing them to live the consequences of their own actions.
You taught me that the other
day.
Straight. And I had to believe that. I said, I have a long record of long-term friendships. So it ain't me.
But you've been burned probably just as many times as you have been burned.
I said, so I know to ask more questions. I know to clarify, to understand, not to respond. And I said, if I truly love you, I won't talk to you out of anger. I will wait. I will say, let's revisit this, because I want to give you an opportunity to clarify. And if I clarify, if you did what you did and you meant it, okay, well, we don't have to be friends. We don't have to be in a relationship. You made that choice.
We know where we stand. Right. You've made your choices.
But it really takes you not having to look for outside validation to hold people to that.
And that's hard.
That's very hard.
That is very difficult.
It is. But
to hold yourself accountable.
One of the things I taught my kids, we don't lie.
No, that's my big thing. Lying, there's no reason for it ever.
My son, he was a 3-year-old, and he would do something. I'm like, dude, there's nobody else to blame but you. This is you. I said, but why are you hiding? Naturally, humans hide when they do bad stuff. And then I always ask them, if we have a conversation, what did you learn?
Yeah.
And the reason I do that is it doesn't matter how much I preach to you. If the comprehension ain't there, then I did nothing.
Doesn't matter.
And I remember you're
yelling at a brick wall.
I remember he remembered. He like, no lie.
No
I'm
lie.
like, that's right. No lie. That's what you understand.
That's right.
Like, no lie.
That's what we say. No lies and no secrets between the Hatch fam.
Yeah. So being able to see a 3-year-old articulate that.
Isn't that incredible?
It was like, okay, you're doing this parenting thing right. And
then you're like, but then you realize that these kids they just come as they are, man. Like we obviously have our influences, but again, they're just watching us.
Yeah.
They watch. They're not going to remember the shit that we say. They'll remember what we did and the examples that they set, because that's what I remember.
My son is brilliant. He's 5, and he went to his parent-teacher conference.
His little gears running
for pre-K. They're like, yeah, he already counts to 100. You wouldn't know this at home, though.
Really?
No.
He hides.
He hides.
He doesn't want to show people he's smart.
Yeah.
My son's like that, man. Well, shit. Like, why are they afraid to let their brilliance come? They don't want people to know. Like,
they're like, he's actually pretty funny. I was like, you guys are welcome. I was like, yeah, you know, like, he's not as shy as I think he's
a little mini you, man.
Yeah, I was like, so it's kind of funny. I was like, he reminds me of me when I was a kid. You know, he fears authority, though.
Oh yeah. Oh, he fears it.
Not fears it, but he
challenges it.
He does it in his own way. Like,
well, that's what we want, man. Yeah. I think we should always challenge authority. Don't get me started on that.
But it's just. But he either has full respect for you or he doesn't care for you. So there's certain friends he's like, hey, bro, you know, I don't know you like that.
Okay.
Certain friends he's just like, yeah, you're cool. I've seen you around enough. Other friends he's like, why are you talking to me, bro? Like,
he knows how to read the energy like his dad.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know you like that. Yeah, yep.
We're not there yet.
He's like, probably met you twice.
I'm not ready to open up to you yet. Yeah. Like, well, he's guarded probably, right? You know,
he's very, he's a COVID baby.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he's very just like, we need to tell you got 5 layers of Fort Knox.
But I think that's good, though.
No, it's a good thing, you know, like,
you know, you have to be careful who, like, you know, sometimes, because when you share too much of yourself with the wrong person, you get burned. That can make you go the other direction.
But I also tell people, I said, I don't let everybody into my house.
No.
There's very few people that know where I live for that reason. I was just like, no, you can't let. My mom always taught me, she's like, you don't let everybody.
Because you're a giver and you know yourself.
Yes.
And you know that you could put yourself in a position where you're being taken advantage of. Had to learn that the hard way too.
You know, so learning to just like, you know, trust my gut. You know, and you know, like
your spirit, your soul.
Yeah, you know, like
your soul.
That internal compass.
The voices in your head.
That's just like, you probably shouldn't. The difference between people that make time for you people, I believe.
Yeah.
That if I have time for you, I said, don't even make the time.
Right.
Like, I want to make. I made.
It's a Yoda thing, man. Yeah. Fucking do or do not. There is no try.
I always tell them, I said, don't if me.
See why I was a Star Wars nerd? It has so many life lessons.
Yeah, but I always tell them, I said, no, I'm gonna make time for you.
You're going to choose to make time.
And then there's so many people, you know, like birthdays. I always tell people, I said, no, we don't celebrate if you're around me. But then there's a childhood trauma behind people that don't like birthdays.
Right.
Because they said, well, nobody ever wanted to celebrate me. I said, well,
no one showed up.
Now you can celebrate you.
Yeah. I still get weirded about that. Like when, you know, I remember my wife threw me a surprise party one time and a lot of people showed up and it was just like, I forget that I have that many friends. And then, you know, because I don't know, like growing up, I didn't really have that. You know, I was that kid that only had one friend show up to a birthday party or 2 friends or mostly family, you know, and that hurts. As much as you don't want to admit it and we pretend that we don't care about it as men, we do fucking care. We need friends.
My 40th birthday, you know, my friend's like, no, we're throwing you a party.
Yeah.
He's like, but you're in charge of the invite list. And because I know how it is you never invite just enough people, you over invite.
Absolutely.
And more than 3/4 of the people I invited showed up. Oh. So it was a big thing.
That's so cool.
He's like, yeah. He said, you didn't think anybody would show up? Here's like 75 to 80 people here to celebrate you. And that was for the first time in my life I allowed people to celebrate me.
It makes my heart feel so good, man.
But then everybody was reminding me, like, look at all the different phases of your life.
Right.
Look at like, how did they meet Alex? Yeah, he came up to me. He started talking up to me.
That's just a very, very small percentage of the actual lives you've touched.
Yeah. So
those are just the ones that showed up, and we know that's less than 1% always.
And since that party, 40 has been amazing.
And 40 great, man.
Yeah, 40 is where life starts.
Life starts at 40.
What if somebody says, you know, everything before that is research?
Straight up. No, I'm a firm believer of that. Like before I was guessing a lot of the ways, and I'm still guessing now, but I have concepts and certain things that do fucking work. And you know me, I'm all about testing, finding out if it works. And there are certain things in my life that I know work. And so I'm going to keep doing those things. And I'm going to fail again. I'm going to fuck up. I know that. That's part of it. But that's what it is. We can't be afraid to fail.
That's why I said I think the most beautiful thing about life.
Look forward to the failures.
The most beautiful thing about life right now for me is I'm good.
Right.
Like whether, like my term lately is life is good. So
life is good.
In my traveling stuff, like my neck rest, my passport holder, if I'm traveling, life is good.
Life is good.
If I, like, people like, how is it? Life is good. You know, like, and I said, but I truly believe that though. It's not like, you know, I always tell people, I said, if you telling me living the dream, that means I'm going to stop you and be like, hey, what's really going on? Like, why do you feel like life sucks?
Right.
So that means that life sucks. They're like, damn, I didn't.
Right.
I'm like, think about it.
Because you're just saying something to say it right. Like, you know, that's really it. Like, you know, I think that's why we all kind of suffer with that imposter syndrome. I know I did for a long time because you know, deep down, and we can, you know, I can say this now at 40, deep down I thought I was happy. I was forcing myself to think I was happy. But I don't know that I really was. Like I was searching for it.
Happiness is within.
It is, but now I wake up every day and I literally can do whatever the fuck I want. Like that is pure freedom.
Like today I went to the office and like nobody's there, and then, you know, but I still show up.
But because we know we've done the work.
Yeah. But then, you know, like, I'm like, you know,
I have no one to answer to but myself.
Like, you got paid twice this week.
Right.
Life is good. But then, you know, like, I still did everything I wanted to do and still took care of my obligations.
Right.
Like, that's what I tell people. I said, no.
I do what I want to do, but
both.
I got shit done.
I said, I still know, like, I called a contractor today, like, hey, I need your W-9. And he had never spoke to me before, so he thought, I said, I gave you specific reasons.
Right.
That if I was a scammer, I wouldn't know specifics to the details.
Exactly,
He was like all caught off, and then he called me and he apologized. He's like, no, he's like, I was in the middle of something, so it was just like a call like that. He was like, I was just thrown
threw me.
I said, he's like, I didn't even hear half the things you said, you know, to be honest.
Didn't listen.
But then he apologized, and he once he was able to validate who I was, but I was already good with me.
Right.
I know I didn't do anything wrong. I said I didn't get upset. I was like, okay, you know, do whatever you need to do. I'm good.
Right.
You know, I said, but if you're asking me for money, I just need to make sure I know who it's going to.
Of course, yep.
And then it's just saying, I was just like, if I know I'm doing right by you, there's no need for me to get upset. And 90% of the time, those people are like, hey, you know, I'm sorry I came across you. Oh, we're good, man. Right. You know, I was solid. I didn't need you to apologize. I'm just...
Right.
And that's a different sense of freedom.
It is. The confidence of knowing that you're not going to let other people's, even though you feel them, right? Especially as an empathetic individual like yourself, you can feel others' feelings, but allowing them to just let it be theirs and be good. That's like you said, a different level of freedom.
Yeah. But betrayal,
the not give a fuck, but like you give a fuck. You give a fuck about the ones you care about, but you also are gonna just let people live their lives because we don't have control. I don't have control over anyone else's life. I'm not here to convince you of anything other than here's what works for me, but I'm good.
What I always tell people,
because this works.
Probably my biggest weakness is getting past betrayal.
Oh, that
like I said, that's the one thing. I said, give me time, because I'm going to be upset because I allowed myself not to see red flags.
But I think I know why that is, because
it's close.
Well, no, it's because people like us, we truly want the best in everyone. And we can see people's potential and what they're capable of. And when they're not living up to that potential, when they're choosing not to be the best version of themselves, and we fucking know it, it drives us insane and it pisses us off.
So I read something the other day on Instagram. It's just like, your biggest red flag is romanticizing people's potential. So you end up loving a person that was never there. I was like, oof.
No,
I said, that is me.
That is me 1,000%.
And I said, yes, that is my weakness. I tend to see the person that they can be rather than the person that they are.
But I don't necessarily think that's a weakness, right?
No, but not that it's a weakness.
It's just you can't...
If they're not willing to accept it and change it, you do become a problem.
Correct.
Because you're holding them accountable.
Because you're not letting them be accountable, right? Yeah. You are trying to take on their shit. It's not your job to take on their shit.
So now it's like... It's easier for me to...
Because if you do it enough, they expect you to do it, and then you become the problem.
Yeah. So now when I tell people, I say, no, we've already talked about this twice.
Right.
It's either you're going to do it or not. Like,
that's huge.
I have nothing else to say on that subject.
This is what I am working on now.
And then I've told people that they've having the same relationship issue. I said, I already told you how I felt about that.
I told you what to do.
If you're not going to do it, I said, hey, for the sake of our friendship, I don't want to talk about this anymore. Like, this is, I said, you're starting to make me mad because you're not going to take any action. So therefore, I don't even know why we're talking about it.
Right, yeah, what are we doing?
I just want to spend time with you then.
And that's it. You have to allow people to be accountable for their own shit.
And that's true accountability.
That is true accountability.
True accountability is we've talked about it.
It's on you now.
I said, you asked me for a solution.
And I told you.
Today it happened. You're like, oh, I was just trying to see what you're going to say. I said, I've given you the keys to do whatever you want.
Right.
You live with that.
You do you.
And then you can see the face change. It's like, damn.
Yeah.
I do have to figure this out. Like, because I'll always ask them, I'm like, what do you want out of this situation?
Well, and it's okay to also realize that you may not always figure it out right away. You may not even figure it out by the end of the week, end of the month. Like, you have to put in the work, you have to keep trying, and you have to just keep going. And I think that's honestly the biggest message of men's mental health, right?
Yes.
Like, we all have shit, we all are fighting our own battles.
Don't be afraid to talk about it.
Don't be afraid to talk about it. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it.
Yeah.
I always say, go until you can't go anymore. But when you can't go anymore, find someone that you can rely on.
I think most men,
and if you don't have anyone, that's what the higher power's for. I
think what most men have a struggle with is the stigma that goes with mental health.
Agreed.
And I call it the Robin Williams effect. You know, like, let me make everybody else happy while I'm in sorrow. And then the closest one that hit me was Twitch, because I am him.
Yeah.
Like, in the sense of less Mr. Personality.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't feel like people see you.
Right.
But I'm an open book.
Right.
I have not allowed myself to go dark because most people won't let me go dark.
Well, because you wouldn't allow it in them.
And them. Yes.
And so it comes back to you.
So if it comes to being seen, this week reminded me of, like, people see you.
Absolutely, man.
And you see them.
Damn straight.
And
you're meant for big things, bro.
Appreciate that.
You are meant for big things.
I tell people all the time, like, one of my old bosses, he was a father figure for me in the Marine Corps. Like, I'm 19 years old, lost. And then I got to see him for the first time after 17 years. And it was so crazy that, like, you see somebody in the hallway, I'm holding stuff. Like, let me put this stuff down. Like, give my dad a hug. And he's telling his wife, she's like, I remember you. And then we have called each other every Father's Day. And this past year, his son was in boot camp Father's Day, and I called him. And he was like, you would call me like on the day I needed you the most, and we just talk. And
you're allowing
seeing him this past month, it was just like we got to share those stories. He's like, yeah, you're doing big things. He's like, a lot of times I see your videos. He's like, I send it straight to my son. Like, you need to hear this.
This is for you.
He's like, you need to hear this.
I love that.
But it's so cool to have so many different depth of people in my life that, like, there's 15
all
years,
walks of life, right?
All walks of life. Every phase of my life has been continuous. You show up.
That's it.
And now I'm allowing people to show up for me, because I used to be like, but now it's, hey, I'm going to show up for you just like you showed up for me.
Absolutely.
Or, hey, I was about to call you out on that, but you already caught yourself.
Yeah. Isn't that fun when people start to grow? It's like watching your kids learn shit. It's like, all right, you're starting to learn.
But being able now to truly just live, like, for the first time in my life, I'm just like, yep, we living over here.
Yeah.
Good, bad, indifferent.
Oh, yeah.
But the days of happy is just like Arizona. 330 days of sunshine over here.
Yep.
Might have 30 days throughout the 12 months, which is not much.
Not bad. It's not bad.
A couple of days a month,
And they're probably going to be really shitty too. But when the days are bad here, they're bad. But again, it just makes the good times that much better.
But it's good to have friends like you in my life. Who just like, hey,
like you, buddy.
Call it the no questions asked friends.
Amen.
We need a few of those.
Yep.
Like, no questions, I'll be there. And
absolutely,
not people like, oh, hey, bro, you call them and then Christ is like, hey, bro, let me call you back. I don't do those.
Nope.
In fact, some people I'm just going to put like, do not call an emergency because they might tell you that
you can't rely on them.
Yes. You know, but everybody who I've had in my life, especially the past few years, have just been solid.
Yeah.
But I look at when did you show up for them was in the same situations.
Well, here it is, man. So I recently filmed this episode out in Cornville, in Arizona's wine country, and I was asking them a question about, because I'm not a huge wine guy, but I really loved the wine in Cornville. And they had this very specific wine called a Rioja, which I know because there's a Rioja in Spain. And so I was like, well, is this from Spain then? And they're like, no, this is here. They said the reason it's the Rioja is because this region that sits on a, not only a tectonic plate and volcanic soil that's similar to the place in Spain, but it has drastic temperature changes. We're in Arizona, right? We can go from 70 degrees to 110 degrees. And so what this does is the more intense the trauma, the more intense the problems, it forces the roots to grow deeper. And by doing that, it allows a sweeter grape, a better grape, a more diverse, and that's what gives it its flavor and creates a one-of-a-kind, but it never would have been so amazing had it not gone through all that trauma.
That sounds like my life.
And so as individuals and people that I hang out with and I see like that have experienced horrible things, right? Like difficult situations that would knock any normal man to his knees and not be able to get back up, but we keep fucking fighting, and it forces us to grow our roots deeper, to find other people to grow better, to become something newer and one of a kind.
What was funny was when I was going through my divorce and I would tell people, initially they're like, oh no, I forgot who I was talking to. You're about to use this to win.
You turn this shit around on me.
They're like, nah, this motherfucker.
I came here to complain.
They're like, they're like, no, you're about to crush the world. Like, at first they'd be like, no, not you. They're like, you're about to use this as fuel. Like, even on my own ex-wife, she's like, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I love that. When my mom says, she's like, I worry about you, son, but I don't worry about you. I know you're going to be fine. I'm like,
but the thing is that, of all the things we've been through, I'm glad in this season of life that it's full circle.
Right? There's a symmetry to it that brings it around. Like, you just keep going.
I saw you at your best, and even at your worst, we're still here.
Right?
But so many people, they
emotionally
leave out.
Naked, like you said. Man.
Yeah, no, but I tell people, I said, that's the term, emotionally naked.
That's it.
And then, like when you're sitting with your friend at a bar, they're like, bro, I'm like, my eyes, are they're like, what's this foreign something?
There is beauty in the bottom, brother, because when you've got nothing left, it forces you to look inside.
But I tell people, I said that internal, like, how much could you look at yourself in the mirror and not run away? And I have a friend, he was afraid to take pictures. He's like, I'm not a good looking guy. I'm like, listen, bro, you're going to be around me. One thing you're going to do is, all of a sudden, he started to care about his appearance, like haircuts regularly, like all this stuff. He's like, but you showed me how to do that.
It's all up here.
He's like, you're not, that too, he's like, you're not afraid to just be out there.
Right.
And I remember I would show up to real estate events. It'd be so funny. But during the time I was wearing my fedoras.
You're the reason I bought those damn red shoes, man. I was like, I could be a little loud. It's okay.
But it's funny. I would show up to real estate events, and at the time, my signature thing was the fedoras.
That's right. I remember you were.
And then I showed up to one real estate like, so we weren't worthy of the hat today?
They get disappointed.
They're like, we were expecting the hat today.
Oh, dude, I just want to say thank you, man. Like, like you said, we all need, especially as men, somebody that we can rely on, somebody we can call. No judgment, just someone to talk to and somebody to listen. So thank you for being that guy for me and for helping me try to be that guy for you and for other people as well. That's how we all get better together.
You already been doing
level
it, man.
up. So thank you so much.
Love you, man.
Alex, love you, brother.
Thank you.